Leorio is so much more powerful than you know. Too often he gets played off as a joke, but very few people stop to consider the magnitude of what this man can do. Leorio has a purpose to fulfill in this series that no other protagonist can do the fulfillment of, a power that no other can access. Leorio is going to change the world, and here's how. Firstly, Leorio has, he's had something of a turbulent presence in Hunter x Hunter. He was originally intended to be one of the main cast members of the series, one of the 4 hunter dude guys who would have all sorts of adventures whilst doing the hunting. It was going to be the Yu Hakusho model, 4 unlikely friends versus the world. But then Togashi went, yeah, nah. And over the next 2 decades, repeatedly changed his mind about exactly what he wanted the story to be. And the sad truth is that Leorio had no role in most of these tales. The character was simply the wrong side dish to accompany Togashi's A5 grade steak story. But you know what they say, every potato has its day? In my mouth. And the time has finally come for Leorio to shine. And it's not something he's unprepared for either. There's this misconception in Hunter x Hunter that Leorio is weak because he's a gag character who has never actually done any of the punch fighting. But ever since day 1, Leorio has demonstrated superhuman speed, agility, durability, and even raw strength through the very fact that he was even able to survive the Hunter exam to begin with. He's a lot stronger than you think, and that is especially true in the manga. During the Zoldyck family arc, Leorio opened the second testing gate all on his own, with an accompanying Griuk sound effect. Meanwhile, the scrubs, Gon and Killua, they could only open the first door on their own. But both the 1999 and 2011 anime changed this and downplayed Leorio's strength, likely because they knew just how rapidly he was going to slide into irrelevancy. Eventually, Togashi himself even took away Leorio's trademark switchblade, thus killing his one and only catchphrase, which was, "You mess with the dark, you get stabbed in the cock." But Togashi could have just left it there. Leorio, well, look, he was an unfortunate offcut. However, Togashi, like any good doggo, saw this offcut on the floor and said to himself, yes, delicious. There is a reason why Leorio is currently involved in the Succession War. Not only that, but there is an even bigger reason why he was chosen to go to the Dark Continent. And beyond even that, Leorio has one final purpose to fulfill in the end game of Hunter x Hunter. Something that absolutely nobody else can do. But first, I'm wearing a jacket now, but also a question. Have you ever wanted to dress your dog up like some sort of maniacal flamingo and turn him into a Scottish lord? Because I have, as did the sponsor of this video, Established Titles, a project based on a historic Scottish custom whereby landowners are referred to as lairds, lords, or ladies in English. And you can officially change your name to lord or lady on stuff like credit cards. It's amazing. And I have invoked this mighty, mighty power to have my anime villain dog officially declared as a lord. So right here on this shockingly official proclamation, title packs give you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land with a unique plot number on a private estate in Eddleston, Scotland. It's a great last minute gift for loved ones or even just semi-liked ones. Also, I've been told that everyone who uses my link will get a plot next to each other, so we could probably build some sort of Scottish-based hunter association. It's also a fun, novel way to preserve the nature of Scotland because Established Titles plants a tree with every order and works with global charities on restoration efforts. Go to establishedtitles.com to shop their Black Friday sales with an additional 10% off using code NEWWORLD and help support the channel starting from the 10th of October. But for now, it's back to you. Me. And the first part of his journey is, like most, strongly rooted in the world of Nen. Leorio is not a bad Nen user. In fact, he's so not bad that I would even go so far as to describe him as good. His learning was, yes, a little self-delayed, but his progress since embracing the art form has been nothing short of astounding. And it makes sense because Leorio is a perfect Nen candidate. In this world, aura manifests as a direct response to desire. That's why Netero crafted the Hunter exam to be as brutal as it is, to make sure that only the people who have that superhuman drive make it through. And Leorio's drive is of course to help people. When he was but a small Leorioling, his friend died from a condition that was entirely curable. However, they couldn't afford the necessary medical care. His friend's name was Pietro in the 1999 anime. I don't know why. Both the 2011 anime and the manga keep him nameless, so that's just a thing. But another thing is the key thing to remember about Leorio, which is that he is not a 1 in a million Nen talent like Gon and Killua, nor is he a recklessly driven genius like Kurapika. Particularly in the case of Gon and Kurapika, their chosen Nen paths have been to burn twice as bright for half as long. So they present astounding short-term progress, but at the cost of quite literally their lives. Leorio, however, is in the Nen game for the long haul. His progress is slower than his friends, but it's made in a much more sustainable way. For example, it was pretty funny when Leorio Leorio rocked up at York New City knowing nothing about Nen. But whether he knew it or not, the objectively correct path for his Nen journey was to stock up on medical knowledge first. Because if Leorio learns Nen without understanding how to actually use it for his goals, then he'd just end up creating a series of half-baked abilities. So as much as he seemingly fell behind due to prioritizing medicine, the knowledge base he built has allowed him to catch up at an incredibly rapid rate, to the point where Leorio's Nen abilities even impress Jing freaks. And impressing Jing is a feat that even Gon never managed to accomplish. And I think it's even more impressive considering that Leorio's natural subclass is a mission. I know that in Hansers, they usually consider the kind of boring and undesirable class. What do you do? Oh, I hit things. I mean, to be fair, they hit things like pretty hard. But throughout the series, it seems like emitters usually end up as, like the scum lingering at the bottom of the Nen pool. For example, famous emitters include Franklin, Brovada, and Pockle. So essentially all of the characters known for going pew pew with their aura, because that's as far as most natural emitters get. It's at the point where I am certain the only reason why Razor's shoulders are so broad is because he literally carries the entire emission subclass. Compared to a lot of his emitter contemporaries, Leorio is actually very impressive with the creative spin he's put on the category. Basically though, raw emission is kinda meh. Emission tends to be at its best when it's used in conjunction with one of its neighboring categories, and it's used particularly well with its bestest buddy Manipulation, because that leads very smoothly into the realm of Nen Beasts. You emit the Nen Beast, and then you manipulate the Nen Beast. And that's quite a benefit for Leorio actually, because in theory he could just emit his own series of medical assistants, programmed with all sorts of incredibly mechanically precise uses. However, Leorio is already far more advanced than we give him credit for. For example, his ultrasound ability is essentially an advancement of the End principle. It covers a smaller potential area, but it's extremely difficult for opponents to detect as opposed to a standard N, which is perfect for Leorio because he obviously lacks the, how shall we say, the more conventional qualities of, say, strength and sheer aura quantity. But he doesn't need any of that. Well, he needs some of it. He doesn't need much of that because Leorio's main weapon is knowledge. He may not have much aura, but he understands the most efficient way to make use of what he has. And in the case of ultrasound, that provides Leorio with information whilst completely masking his presence from all but the top tier Nen users of the world. And he also does have a wide range of attacking options. Remote punch is our obvious one, again perfect for Leorio because it allows him to attack without making himself vulnerable in close combat. Plus, it increases the overall force of his attacks beyond that of a normal punch with the added travel velocity. If Leorio could ask his other neighbor, Enhancement, for a cup of Nen sugar, then these punches could be devastating. And hey, maybe they already are. Leorio obviously had no intention to kill or seriously injure Jing, so what we saw there could definitely be on the weaker side. Probably the ability to take most note of though are the phasing bullets. After dissecting Leorio's power, Jing used these on a much larger scale, but the intent behind them was to send a concentrated burst of hostile aura to destroy impossible to reach tumors and blood clots within the body. And as soon as I read that, I could feel my insides like viscerally squirming. Because in the wrong hands, and even with a teeny tiny bit of aura, that could be instant death to anyone. I mean, the human heart has what, like around 10 veins going through it? So all someone needs to do is send a couple of pew-pews targeting those veins and you are gone. Not to mention the insane damage you could do to the brain, all with effectively microscopic quantities of aura. And microscopic quantities of aura is one of the few bars that Leorio does clear. But it's also nigh on impossible to imagine him using Nen to actually hurt anyone because it goes against the core principle behind his drive. In fact, not using the abilities in a hostile way might even be a condition for how Leorio has managed to concoct such advanced powers in such a short amount of time. But even if not, something I always come back to is Melody's description of Leorio. Melody once said that Leorio had the nicest heartbeat in the entirety of York New City. So when it comes down to it, I just don't think that Leorio is capable of killing, or even seriously injuring. And this compassion is a common trait amongst emitters, which can also be seen in Knuckles' much kinder approach to beast hunting. And even the soft-hearted Melody herself is a natural emitter with a goal to find a dangerous piece of music in order to prevent anyone else from being cursed by it. But one does not need to kill or even injure to become a dangerous Nen force. If anything, Leorio could combine his medical and his Nen knowledge to figure out a way to shut off his opponent's aura nodes, essentially placing them in a state of force Zetsu, making them not only defenseless, but much more relevant for Leorio, attackless. With the right mentor, Leorio could mix Nen and medicine, or I suppose Nenison, to become truly great. And conveniently enough, he just so happens to have the best possible mentor he could have wished for with Cheadle. She is a triple-star disease hunter, and almost certainly the highest authority of medical aura use in the world. So he's definitely on the right path. However, currently, he doesn't quite have the luxury of learning at his own rate. But you know what? Pressure creates diamonds, and Leorio has 3 tasks to accomplish before the end of Hunter x Hunter. The first is during the Succession War, and it's all about Kurapika. Our blonde man is on a guaranteed path of self-destruction. Whether he gets killed during the war by the Phantom Troop or even by his own Nen abilities, Kurapika's life nuts are well and truly stuck in this here vice. But Leorio is not going to let him die. He's already watched his childhood friend die helplessly. He also almost watched Gon die again helplessly. So this time around, Leorio is going to be able to save his friend. His one driving purpose in life is to heal those who need it. And Kurapika is at the very front of that emergency room line. Leorio is the Killua to Kurapika's Gon. Although he's more like a fusion of Gon and Killua, Gon's abrasiveness with Killua's loyalty. But that is by far the least interesting event to come out of Leorio's future, because this boy is also headed to the Dark Continent. And for the longest time I was like, okay Togashi, we're taking the weakest person and plonking them in the strongest possible place. What is your game here, Mr. Storyman? And then it hit me. Leorio is going to the Dark Continent because he is the one who is going to bring back a substance that revolutionizes humanity. Whether it's one we already know like Nitro Rice or Metallion that would radically change medicine, or even something completely new, maybe even unrelated to medicine. Leorio could find a breakthrough in any field, make like a gazillion dollars, and then just dedicate his entire fortune to medicine. He could quite literally become the richest man in the world, which was very much his ambition becoming a hunter in the first place. And with that in mind, Leorio's endgame position in the series will be to become the chairman of the Hunter Association, a position that he has admittedly already turned down. But Leorio's whole character arc, whether Togashi intended it or not, has been about the slow burn. Cheadle herself even stated that Leorio would likely make a fantastic chairman. She honestly believes that he would lead the organization onto a better path. And if she, as the current chairman, is mentoring him, then Cheadle is more or less grooming him for eventual leadership. Let's put it this way. He is already the most popular hunter in the association. He's already a member of the Zodiacs, so he's one step away. He already has the support of many of the Zodiacs, including the current chairman. And if he returns from the Dark Continent with literally anything that isn't a calamity, then he will be heralded as the greatest hunter in all of the history. After which point, Leorio will do exactly what he said during the chairman election. If I become chairman, I'll use the association for my own personal ends. My first order to all of you will be to do something to save Gon. Except substitute save Gon for just people in general. And then there's also this one little extra tidbit. The lurking calamity that is Gyro. A man made up of pure malevolence and evil. Most people believe that if and when Gyro's story plays out, it's going to be Gon who inevitably needs to stop him. However, Gyro's natural opposite is Leorio. The man with the nicest heartbeat taking on the man, I guess not even man, the most terrific heartbeat owning monster thing. So that's what Gyro is. He doesn't have humanity anymore. Leorio is a natural counter because his pursuit of medicine stands directly against Gyro's strategy of spreading drugs throughout the world and poisoning humanity that way. Gon can't do anything about that, but Leorio can, which would only cement his position as the world's future most recognized hunter and the final protagonist of Hunter x Hunter. And thanks again to Established Titles for sponsoring this video.